Clyde had always been believed to be a quiet and humble garbage collector. Everyone in the neighbourhood knew him as this gentle giant who was great with their kids and made the garbage collection seem fun. However, one day, when no one was watching, one camera caught Clyde doing something that stunned everybody. Why would Clyde do such a thing? Clyde had been everyone's trusted garbage collector for multiple years. He always kept the streets clean and always acted very nice to the kids who came to say hi. The fact that John had gotten it all on video had been purely accidental. He had only recently gotten a motion camera with his doorbell, but he could never have guessed what he would capture with it. He didn't recognize the animal in the video. John had no clue if it belonged to any of his neighbours, but thought that this had to be reported regardless of how Clyde behaved around people. It was just a shame that Clyde had been too far away. His doorbell camera hadn't been able to catch the sounds he and the animal had made. He could only see Clyde's lips move and guess. It left John with a predicament on what to do. He had always thought Clyde had been a good man, but maybe he had been wrong. As he grabbed his phone, John knew what he had to do, but many questions went through his head. What would Clyde's explanation be? Was what he had seen on his camera the whole story? And most importantly, could they truly have been this wrong about Clyde? He was great with his kid, sometimes even playing ball with him if time allowed it. He helped shovel the driveways of the elderly residents in the neighbourhood to ensure they wouldn't trip. He did way more than a garbage man should do. So why did the footage suddenly tell him otherwise? John knew he had to ask around. Clyde wouldn't be around for multiple days, and he needed to know what to do before that. He needed to know if he would be wrong in alerting the police about what he had seen. Maybe Clyde had only been nice in everyone's face, he mumbled to himself. He had to get to the bottom of this. John decided to go to his neighbour's home. He had always been rather friendly with Michael, and they shared a kid who was the same age as him, so he hoped he would be some help. He patiently waited for Michael to open the door. Maybe he would shed some light on the matter, or even better, and maybe he had a camera too. John hadn't even thought about that in the first place. Maybe a neighbour had a doorbell camera or security camera as well. The video he had only showed a small part of the act. It hadn't all happened on camera, meaning that he didn't know the full story. Then Michael opened the door to his home, his brow furrowing at the sight of John. "John?" he said, his voice filled with confusion. "What's up?" he asked, his eyes darting to whatever could be behind him. He probably thought John had brought along his son to play with his own. "Lucas isn't home right now, so he won't be able to play," Michael explained, but John merely returned the words with a smile. That was not why he was here. "That's not why I am here," John answered, which caused Michael to frown. "I saw something rather concerning yesterday on my doorbell camera. I just need a second opinion. Or better yet, someone with another camera," John said, and Michael now became curious. Bon finally asked the question we were all thinking. "What the hell did you capture on video?" Michael invited his friend into his home and let him sit on the couch before John grabbed his phone. He quickly found the video of the day before and clicked play so that he and Michael could see it. "Is that Clyde?" Michael asked John, who only nodded in answer. "Okay, what is he?" Michael suddenly went quiet. There was concern on his face as he angled his face to the phone like he wanted to see past the angles that were shot. What was he doing to that dog? Michael paused. Why was he doing that to that dog? John didn't have a clue either, but he hoped that Michael would help him find out exactly what had happened. Luckily, answers were only right around the corner. "Do you even recognize that dog?" John asked. He had seen golden retrievers before, but had no clue who it could belong to. Maybe Michael could shed light on who the owner could be. Michael's eyes squinted at the screen, deep in thought. "I don't know. I thought Jenny from across the street recently got one. Maybe we should ask her?" John nodded at this. That was a good idea. At the very least, it could be their first and only lead. "But to answer your question, John, I unfortunately don't have a camera, but I will help you get to the bottom of this," Michael said, determination in his eyes. John smiled at this, thankful for his neighbour's offer, They should be able to figure this out with the two of them. I think it wouldn't be unwise to ask around the neighborhood a bit. Maybe another person in this neighborhood knows a bit more about this whole predicament, Michael said, and John nodded. Plus, I feel like with all we have now, we wouldn't have sufficient evidence for the police to even do something about it. You're right, John answered. Calling the police would indeed have been no problem, but to make the police do anything about it, they needed to have sufficient evidence. If you want to help me, then we should get started with Jenny. You said she had a golden retriever, right? It seems like that makes her our first lead. John and Michael, with determined strides, approached Jenny's porch, their minds clouded with uncertainty. Upon hearing their inquiry about Bailey, her golden retriever, Jenny's face mirrored their confusion. She revealed that Bailey had mysteriously vanished but was later found at the local shelter, adding an unexpected twist to the already perplexing situation. Jenny, sipping her tea nervously, mentioned that Clyde, the garbage man, had been actively involved in the search for Bailey, which only deepened the mystery surrounding his actions. This revelation, juxtaposed with the disturbing footage, raised critical questions about Clyde's possible involvement in Bailey's brief disappearance, casting a shadow of doubt over his intentions. Under the shadow of an old oak tree, John and Michael stood, pondering the contradiction between Clyde's well-earned reputation as a trustworthy figure and the unsettling footage. Their conversation, laden with concern, revolved around the community's unwavering trust in Clyde, now juxtaposed against the suspicious circumstances captured on camera. Amidst their walk back through the quiet streets, a thought struck them. What if Clyde's actions, now under a cloud of suspicion, were a misinterpretation of his well-intentioned nature? This possibility, considering his history of helpfulness, cast a new light on the footage, making them second-guess their initial assumptions. Deciding to delve deeper, John and Michael agreed to canvass the neighborhood, seeking any observations from other residents about Clyde's recent behavior or the mysterious golden retriever. Their journey, filled with a mix of hope and apprehension, aimed to gather more pieces of this intricate puzzle, hoping to unravel the truth behind the enigmatic footage. Under the dim streetlight, John and Michael debated the perplexing scenario, with Jenny unable to confirm if the dog in the footage was indeed Bailey. They speculated if Clyde, for reasons unknown, chose the shelter over direct return to the owner, their minds grappling with the question of why Clyde would avoid the simpler, more straightforward approach. As they knocked on doors and gathered stories, they found the community's opinion of Clyde to be a mosaic of contrasts. While some neighbours praised him for his kindness and reliability, others recalled instances that seemed odd, painting a picture of Clyde that was both revered and shadowed by doubt, deepening the enigma surrounding him. In a conversation over garden fences, a neighbour shared an observation that struck a chord. Clyde had been spotted in unusual places at odd times, a revelation that suggested a hidden pattern of behaviour, previously unnoticed and unaccounted for within the community's understanding of the garbage man's routine. In the quiet of John's study, they pored over public records and online information, seeking to uncover the layers of Clyde's past. They scoured through his employment history and any personal details available, hoping to find clues that would either vindicate or implicate him, their resolve firm in uncovering the truth. Walking through the neighbourhood, the split in opinions was palpable. On one side, those who stood firm in their belief of Clyde's integrity, and on the other, those clouded with suspicion. This division created an undercurrent of tension, rippling through casual conversations and friendly waves as the mystery of Clyde's actions loomed over the community. In the quiet of John's living room, they resolved to call a neighbourhood meeting, a platform to share the baffling footage and solicit input from the community. They hoped this gathering would unearth additional information, perhaps even unseen footage, shedding light on the day's events that had so deeply unsettled their trust in Clyde. In the hours that followed, John and Michael meticulously planned the presentation of the footage. Their aim was to ensure an unbiased perspective, fostering a space for open and fair discussion among the neighbours. They were acutely aware that the way they presented the information could significantly influence the community's perception and response. As the invitations were dispatched, the responses trickled in, painting a tapestry of varied emotions. Some neighbours expressed concern, others curiosity, and a few displayed overt scepticism. The array of reactions hinted at the complexity and potential volatility of the upcoming meeting, mirroring the diverse sentiments brewing within the neighbourhood. The chosen venue, a local community hall, was set up thoughtfully, keeping in mind the sensitive and potentially contentious nature of the discourse. Chairs were arranged in a semicircle to promote a sense of inclusion and openness, and a screen was set up for the footage display, all designed to facilitate a constructive and respectful dialogue. As the day of the meeting dawned, John and Michael, while sipping their morning coffee, voiced their apprehensions. They wondered about the meeting's potential repercussions on the neighbourhood's harmony and Clyde's reputation. Their conversation was tinged with the weight of responsibility, knowing that the forthcoming event could either bridge divides or deepen rifts within their community. The air was thick with tension as the community hall filled with residents. When the footage was played, a collective gasp echoed through the room, revealing a side of Clyde that was alien to them all. Shocked and bewildered, the neighbours looked on in confusion, yet no one came forward with any additional evidence or insight regarding that fateful day. As the footage ended, a murmur rose among the gathered residents. Some staunchly defended Clyde, recalling his years of amiable service, while others, their voices tinged with fear, couldn't reconcile this image with the man they thought they knew. The room became a canvas of mixed emotions, painting a picture of a community at a crossroads of trust and doubt. The discussions escalated, with voices growing louder and opinions more divided. Some neighbours argued fervently in favour of Clyde's character, citing his long history of goodwill, while others questioned his intentions, pointing to the unsettling nature of the footage. The debate swirled, reflecting the deep uncertainty and conflict felt throughout the room. Amidst the rising voices, an elderly figure, respected and wise, stood up. With a calming presence, he appealed to the crowd, urging them to withhold judgment until more concrete evidence emerged. His words, seasoned with experience, reminded everyone of the dangers of hasty conclusions and the importance of due process. As the meeting drew to a close, a consensus emerged, tempered by the Elders' Council. The community agreed to delve deeper, seeking additional information and perspectives before making any decisive moves. The commitment to gather more evidence was a collective pledge, reflecting a cautious approach to an increasingly complex and sensitive situation. In the aftermath of the neighbourhood meeting, a sombre decision was reached. Despite their reservations, the community agreed to involve the police, recognising the seriousness of the accusations against Clyde. They hoped that the authorities could bring clarity to his actions and shed light on his current whereabouts, unravelling the mystery that had enveloped their once tranquil neighbourhood. John and Michael, bearing the weight of their community's trust, approached the police station. They detailed the events, from the discovery of the footage to the neighbourhood's divided reactions, laying out the situation with a mix of urgency and apprehension. They hoped the authorities would understand the gravity of their concerns and act accordingly. The officers listened with a professional yet sceptical air, their expressions betraying a hint of doubt about the community's concerns. Nevertheless, acknowledging the genuine worry of the residents, they agreed to investigate the matter. The promise of police involvement offered a flicker of hope, albeit shrouded in the uncertainty of what they might uncover. Back in the neighbourhood, a palpable tension hung over the streets and homes. The residents found themselves in a waiting game, each day passing with no news from the police, amplifying the anxiety and speculation that rippled through casual conversations and exchanged glances. The community's once mundane routine was now overshadowed by an unnerving silence, punctuated by the unknown. As the investigation lingered, the residents' emotions were a complex blend of hope, fear, and uncertainty. While some clung to the belief in Clyde's innocence, others feared what the police might uncover, and many were simply left in a state of limbo, caught between their desire for resolution and the apprehension of facing an uncomfortable truth. In the quiet of the police station, officers meticulously reviewed the footage, their expressions revealing more questions than answers. While the motives remained inconclusive, the concern for the community, especially the safety of pets and residents, prompted them to proceed with the investigation, acknowledging the gravity of the neighbourhood's unease. The investigation gained momentum as the police reached out to Clyde's colleagues and friends, seeking insights into his character and recent behaviour. Each interview was a step closer to piecing together the puzzle, with the officers methodically collecting statements, hoping to find a lead that would illuminate the situation. As the police delved deeper, they found Clyde's past to be unblemished, his record clean without a hint of previous misconduct. However, they stumbled upon intriguing gaps in his recent activities, inconsistencies that raised eyebrows and added a new layer of complexity to the investigation, fueling further curiosity about Clyde's recent whereabouts. Recognizing the importance of community involvement, the police reached out to the residents, requesting any additional information or footage that could aid their investigation. This appeal for collaboration was a reminder of the collective role in ensuring the neighbourhood's safety, with each resident potentially holding a key piece of the puzzle. Amidst the ongoing investigation, a sense of anticipation hung in the air. The community, the police, John and Michael, all waited with bated breath for Clyde's statement. His response to the allegations was crucial, a missing piece in the complex tapestry of events that had so deeply affected the once peaceful neighbourhood. As Clyde's next scheduled garbage collection day approached, it became apparent that the only way to seek answers was to confront him directly. The neighbourhood braced itself, the air charged with tension. Residents speculated on the outcome of this inevitable meeting, their minds clouded with uncertainty and apprehension about the confrontation's potential repercussions. In hushed tones, the community discussed their approach to confronting Clyde. They sought a delicate balance between their thirst for truth and the need to maintain a peaceful resolution. Plans were made with care, ensuring that the upcoming encounter would be conducted respectfully, aiming to avoid escalating the situation into open conflict. Meanwhile, the police strategized their approach to questioning Clyde. They aimed to navigate the sensitive situation with tact, ensuring that their inquiry was thorough yet non-confrontational. Their preparation highlighted the need for diplomacy and careful handling of what had become a highly charged and potentially volatile scenario. As the day of Clyde's arrival drew near, the neighbourhood buzzed with a myriad of opinions. Conversations at the local store, over garden fences, and in the streets reflected a spectrum of views. Some expressed sympathy for Clyde, others suspicion, and a few remained ambivalent, each perspective adding to the complex tapestry of community sentiment. The evening before Clyde's scheduled appearance, the neighbourhood lay in a restless state. Homes were abuzz with anxious chatter, and the streets echoed with the footsteps of pacing residents. The air was thick with a mix of anticipation and anxiety as the community grappled with the uncertainty of what the following day would unveil. The morning was unusually quiet until Clyde's garbage truck turned into the neighbourhood, breaking the tense silence. Unaware of the storm that awaited him, he was met by the police, alongside John, Michael, and a group of residents. As they confronted him with the footage and allegations, Clyde's face registered shock, and he vehemently denied any ill intentions, his voice laced with disbelief. Clyde's reaction was one of genuine surprise and confusion. He stood there amidst the gathering crowd, his hands gesturing in a mix of defence and bewilderment. He firmly denied any wrongdoing, his voice steady yet filled with an underlying sense of bewilderment, as if the weight of the accusations was too surreal for him to grasp fully. The air grew thick with tension as the confrontation escalated. Voices are raised in a cacophony of demands for truth and clarity, with residents expressing their pent-up anxieties and suspicions. The police, in their attempt to mediate, struggled to maintain a semblance of order, their words barely slicing through the rising tide of emotions. Just as the situation teetered on the brink of chaos, a new revelation emerged. A neighbour, previously silent, stepped forward with a piece of information that had the potential to change the entire narrative. The crowd hushed, their attention shifting as this unexpected development promised to shed new light on the puzzling events. As the new information unfolded, a wave of reactions swept through the crowd. Some neighbours who had been harbouring doubts about Clyde began to reconsider their stance, their expressions changing from suspicion to contemplation. The atmosphere shifted subtly, with a sense of collective re-evaluation permeating the air as the community grappled with this latest twist in the unfolding drama. With the weight of the community's gaze upon him, Clyde, cornered and burdened by the mounting pressure, conceded to take Bailey. Yet, he implored those gathered to understand that the story was more complex than it appeared. His admission, while confirming one part of the mystery, hinted at deeper layers yet to be uncovered. Clyde, his voice steady with earnestness, revealed a startling piece of the puzzle. He had witnessed Bailey displaying aggressive behaviour towards one of Michael's children and had intervened out of a protective instinct. In a state of panic and uncertainty about the dog's ownership, he had made the snap decision to take Bailey to the shelter, prioritising the child's safety above all. As Clyde's explanation sank in, the crowd's tension dissolved into a collective sigh of relief. The misunderstanding was finally unravelled, but it left in its wake a series of introspective questions about the community's hasty judgment and the ease with which suspicion had overtaken trust. In the aftermath of Clyde's revelation, a humbling moment ensued. Several residents stepped forward, extending sincere apologies to Clyde for the doubts they had harboured. Others expressed their gratitude, commending his quick thinking and protective actions, recognising the complexity of the situation he had faced. The incident served as a profound lesson for the community. It underscored the importance of withholding judgment and the value of open, honest communication. The neighbourhood, once divided by suspicion, now found unity in a shared understanding of the complexities of human actions and the need for empathy in the face of uncertainty.